Yep. 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 Hello. Hi. How you're doing? Wow, look at all of you. Hi Pinky. Hi Bleb. Hi Ion. Hi Brecky. Hi Rocket. Welcome. Yep. Why am I getting Hi Safi. Oh my god, look at all of you. How you're doing? I didn't drink enough coffee this morning. I am not awake and I'm late today. As always, but yeah, it's not fine. It's not fine. It's okay though. How are you doing? I hope you are doing good. You guys might hear some fart noises, like this one. Yep, there it is. Again, it's the Opera GX thing. All right. Also, I love fart jokes. Like, fart jokes are great. Come on. Perfect. Drink? Okay, I will drink first. Just woke up waiting for an appointment. Oh, did TTS die? Oh no. Let me try this one. Praise the working TTS. Maybe? I could try going to the website and see what's going on as well. Also, sorry. Oh my god, I'm 7 on the inside. Fart joke so good. I can. Too good. Oh, by the way, this is what happened just now. Apparently, and I say apparently, all right. Let me string myself here. So, Opera GX, right? Apparently, if I do this, oh my god, it's so good. Why is it so good? It's just Opera GX making fart noises, and it's already like top tier. It's already top tier hacking browser. Oh my god. Oh god, don't shoot me. Come on, it's just fart noises, alright? Alright, let me check the sound alerts real quick. Is F tier? Oh, do you mean fart tier, huh? Fart tier? Oh no, the activity feed says it's fine. Let me try again. I mean, sometimes TTS is being janky. I'll try it myself. I think it's like... The event says it's fine here, but there's no sound going on. No! TTS died for some reason. Yeah, TTS died somehow. I mean, there's nothing wrong. I mean, the status says everything is okay, have fun, he says. Have fun, it says. It doesn't even work. How about non-TTS? Like, how about non-TTS? I mean, this one's like the... Oh, sound alert is just gone in general. What? What? Well, I guess no sound alert for today, huh? I'll disable them for today. Anything sound alert, I will disable them for now. What? Let me pause the music. This is from StreamerBot. It's a different audio source. Okay, I think that's it. I should just remove sound alerts, honestly, and just put everything into a StreamerBot. So I just use one thing. Maybe, I don't know. So today, there's a few things that I kind of want to do. Not only just texturing. Texturing as in I'm just gonna put in colors. I don't know how to texture well. Alright, to be completely honest. Right. Also, I think I can just change on the spot on Blender. The snoot I do want to change because I realized last night I opened it up and it's like I noticed something different, right? Something that I want to change is the snoot looks a little too lizard-like. I believe I mentioned this before, but still, let me show you. I mean, of course, dragon is supposed to be a little bit lizard-like, but still, you know, still. So here, this is what I had last week. Yeah, last week. So last week I did this. Tried the armature. Ferg, bro, good. Okay, so there is this VRM humanoid thing that I tried, and it actually works. It saves time on making thingies, and also the head and stuff. I just need to add like some extra. Hi, Jaden Bakes. Hi. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate. How you doing? So yeah, VRM humanoid hog. I actually tested it out as well in Unity last week. So yeah, everything works as intended. I remember. Wait. Wait, why is that scary? I feel. But I don't. I feel bad now. Oh no. I'm sorry if I don't remember you. Followed you from my other account. I guess that explains why. But I don't know which other account is yours. So the snoot. Yeah, the snoot. Let me just hide the armature. I think I can just go to sculpting and just change it a little bit. What I want from this is kind of just make it... I kind of squish them a little bit. Jade Bakes. Jade Bakes. It kind of rings a bell. The name does sound familiar somehow, yeah. But I can't pinpoint when. My brain bad. I just need more coffee. Okay. Do like Ferg. I cannot do like Ferg. It's supposed to be Derg. I need the Kobold needs her Derg, alright? Okay, let me see. If I can do this. Shit. I have too much snacks on my table. too much sneak. Going for a traditional Jade Dragon color scheme? Oh, not really. I already have a color scheme for my character. Let me show you my... The thing that I did a few years back. 2018, drew something. Oop. This one. Oops. This one, sorry. Lots of pink, white, some yellow, yeah. This is what I drew in 2018. I was like, hey. I like dragons back then. But then I've realized I like dragons because I'm a kobold inside. And inside I'm a kobold. So yeah. This is basically the color scheme. I know the style changed a lot. Like if you see this and then you see this, it's like what the fuck? It's very different, I know. For a few reasons. One being the cutesy character is already taken by kobold, so I'm changing the style in general. And also the fuzzy bracelets, I'm removing it. This one I'm removing it because in the 3D space it hurts. It hurts to do this in 3D space, so it's this one, right? Because originally back then when I was making my own characters, I kind of want them all to have some sort of this, because of my first character having this, right? So everyone meet Droxen, Forest Guardian. So he has this diamond-shaped, very fluffy chest, right? So I was like, I kind of want all my characters to have this as like some sort of a resemblance to my character design, right? But then after a while, it's just like, it's too hard. I mean, drawing it out, it's fine. You know, drawing it out is fine because I don't need to like figure out how to do fur. Do fur in 3D space. And when I was modeling the fur out, God, it hurts. Cherry Blossom is mostly pink, yeah. I kind of just like yellow. I mean, I know the color here is like absolute saturation, right? It hurts my eye. Of course, I need to change this to saturated, you know. I just realized being too saturated is not good for the eyes. It's too visually loud, right? After learning a bit about art, yeah, this is too visually loud. Visually loud isn't like, if I look at this long enough, it hurts my eye. Something like that. So yeah, that's the color scheme we're gonna go for. But for this one, I kind of want to just... Where's my pencil? Did I forgot? Yep, I did. I pressed the wrong thing. No! Shut the fuck up. Microsoft Edge, I don't want it. Alright, there we go. Got the pencil. How did I do art back then? I have no space. I'm gonna cry. There's too many medications. Oh my god. Okay, wait, I'm just gonna push this here, push this here. Is this good? Oh, okay. I got it. I think. Oh, middle mouse? Okay, middle mouse is this button. So what I'm thinking is to try to squish them inside this part. No, I mean, like this whole part here, just sort of squish them in a little bit. A little more defined snoot. See what I'm going for? I know it might look weird right now, but I think this would make sense. Yeah, a slimmer snoot. Because what? Oh, I think what I meant to say is that that particular snoot just now was a little too. Wow. A feral? Yeah, I think it might be a little too feral for my taste. Feral as in, like, it's like a real animal. I do want my dragon to be a little more humanoid, but not too humanoid because I hate humanoid designs. I don't know anymore. I'm just gonna do my own thing and just change the snoot. Yeah, like this is already good enough. This is already like not bad. I would say. Like if I want, I can push it down here a little bit. This is low poly, by the way, and I already have the texture baked, so it should be fine. This will not break the UV because UV is in 2D space. The sculpting is just moving the mesh, so all good. The arm, I know it looks weird in this angle. If hate humanoid design, how about Street Fighter? Humanoid design as in you know there are certain art style of animal characters. Specifically animal anthropomorphic characters, right? And anthropomorphic animals. The arm look like baby. Oh my god. I can't. Yeah, you know what? But hey, this is low poly. Alright. There are certain designs on those characters. The snoot is just non-existent. It looks like just human face doing face paint. Those kind of art style. I don't know if I'm making sense. That particular art style is not to my liking, honestly. Like, I don't really like them. What am I doing? I'm supposed to do coloring. I already opened up Substance. Although I think this snoot, at least looking from all sides now, actually looks like a snoot that is not too feral. Let me just save a separate file for this. Like the beast species that is just human. Like that. But I think the face paint is more like the face paint art style, it's like they portray the character as a beast. Right? They have face paint, but the face looks close to, if not human-like, you know. Wait, did I not open up Substance? I'm bad. I'm bad. Alright, Substance. You know what I just realized? The fuck is that? Also, why is this particular fur gone? Although fur only taking up 6,000 polygons, yeah. 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 It's not the best, but still very optimized, I would say. Because before I optimized this one, I think the fur alone cost like 21k polygons, which is a lot, by the way. Low poly would be good. The amount of good polygon for low poly is around 15k to 25k. Like all of them combined together. I think it's this one, right? So I added some colors here, I think. Yeah, see the yellow? Oh my god. Oh my god. Where is it? Here. Also, I don't know why I hide this one for now. It's too saturated, god. Because the body is sort of pink, right? I kind of want... Pink is more bright in terms of like this one, right? It's more bright. So I think another bright... The accent is not yellow. The accent is supposed to be the green, so... I'll work on the green color afterwards. Let me look at my own reference again. This one. So I is green, right? But the green should be... If the green is accent, then... I'll think about it. Oh yeah, also I remove all these chocolate lines for whatever reason. I mean, this one is just too much. What do they resemble? I don't know. Back then I just like this design. It's like, ooh, I love swirly lines. And I just put them in, but it's kind of too much. You know, kind of too much. Okay, let me think. This one. Oh yeah, I still need to add the claws. Looks like face. You know what? It kind of does, yeah. How would tongue be? The inside of the mouth would be like... something like this, I would say. With a lot more roughness. Oh my god, is that latex? Am I playing Changed? The game that is all about TF? I'll stop. And on top of that, a blooming beauty. Wow. You know what? Now I'm inclined to sort of put it back now. Become latex tree. Become latex tree. I mean, I guess. Okay, why is my thing not working? Oh, you know what? I remember something. We replaced the second... I need to reopen this one. One thing about tablets, when you open things with administrator, somehow they don't work anymore. And it was because I opened up with administrator, that's why it doesn't work. I don't get it. With or without, run without administrator for the tablet to work. And look at that. See, it's working now. Meetings is set without, yeah, but it sounds so weird. I don't know why, but it's how it works. which I don't get, to be honest. It's like, what? Me don't get it. Kenapa? Why? Okay, this is pain. Is it right mouse button? I'm sort of gonna just do this first. Looks so weird. Oh, I think for like basic texture, should have make the hardness to maximum. This one, so that it actually looks HD. See? It's probably bad. That looks terrible. Oh no. Without teeth and everything still looks so weird. I mean, of course it's supposed to look weird because there's no teeth and all. 4 TTS? It happens. Not the first time this time, but I just wish it didn't happen as much.
Hey, hello. Remember to open up the subtitle, huh? Thank you.
Shit, did I not open it up? I didn't? Oh my god. Thanks, Pinky. I cannot believe I still forget about it. Okay, middle. Oh. I don't know if you guys feel the same way about art or just doing things in general, but every time before I want to stream art, like this morning or yesterday, you know, I always like trying to avoid streaming art or just doing art in general, right? Because I'm lazy and everything. But then once I actually start to commit into doing art, I enjoy it. A heck lot, like a fuck ton. I enjoy it. I really do. It's always the first step that's so scary. The first step is always the scariest. And now I know why they say that. They're not lying. Once you take that first step, it's all good. Yes, no eyes. Oh, I haven't put in the eyes yet. The eyes I'll put after all the rigging is done. Then I'll put in the eyes, and then I'll make a separate texture for the eye, so that's easier to work with. So is the other like claws, teeth, and the bells. The initial hurdle is the most feared, even if it's not the difficultest. the difficultest. For academic reasons, we write like that in official papers. Yeah, no. In official papers, avoid. I was trying to get the base color in this stage, so that afterwards I can just work on the attach and movable stuff here. Well, I don't think I can move eyes and teeth and claws. Oh yeah, I should add a white. Pure white? Like absolute whiteness? Yeah, I mean, even the settings is all white, so black mask. Also, I love using fill layers because fill layer allows me to do this. Like I can just change color on the spot. Like, oh, I don't like this, I can right? So it's pretty good. I like fill layer. Easier to work with and very versatile when something goes wrong. Not saying that paint layer is bad. Paint layer is more about painting details. When you're trying to put in the initial idea of a color, then yeah, fill layer is the way to go. It's very nice. Until the back jaw, like the whole lower jaw should be white, right? I'll clean up afterwards. Well, see, I can just paint over this because this one is one layer higher than the white color. It's not the whole neck, right? Just the lower jaw. Don't know how I feel about that. Stinky. It's a big one. Stinky. Wow. The rocket's stinky. Okay, I should add a black color as well. Honk, honk, honk. I heard someone's downstairs. It looks weird. Oh, what's the horn color again? I mean, the horn for sure is not pink like this. Oh, it's just white, okay. I should just put my pure ref in, I forgot. How many honking is going on outside? Holy shit. You can always take screenshots and extract color. That sounds cool though, but is it like it would just like extract that exact color into here? That's very cool though. Oh my god, guys. I cannot believe it. I feel like I need toilet. Stomach issues. Oh my god, I cannot believe it. Ay 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 ay. Oh my god. I need to go to toilet. Like, Alright, I'll be right back. Oh, what if I flip this? Oh, look at that. Perfect. You know what this is, right? B R B E. Flip. Okay. I'll just put it here. I mean, it's sort of visible, right? Sort of. I'll make it bigger. And also add this one. the very budget scuffed. You call them. Toilet break. I'll be right back. Sorry about this. Alright. Be right back. Oh, I'm back. Sorry. That took a lot longer than I thought. Thanks, Vicky. I don't know if you guys can hear the grass cutting noises outside. Oh yeah, they were going ham with the machine. That shit loud. Nope. Okay, good. Okay, let's continue doing this. I mean, I'm pretty sure I can finish the basic coloring for the basic coloring today, or even just half a day, I would say, right? Because it's just like basic coloring. I'm not even doing anything fancy. Like, I mean, if I want, I could try the UV is not half as bad, right? So I think for some smart materials, I might be able to do it. Let me check. I might be able to cheat this one out. Maybe not this one. Hmm? No. Hi, McLarge. Oh my god. How you doing? Is it lizard scales? Maybe. Oh my god. Oh my god. I don't know how I feel about this. I mean, it doesn't look as messy as I thought, but still. Oh. It's a big head. It can cover up my whole face. Oh. I'll make it smaller. That's a very defining. I mean, if I remove some place with... Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh my goodness. What is this scale? Maybe we call them variety. How about that? This one seems more serious. Oh my god. Nah, I'm not playing with this. I guess I have all the roughness at 0.7. Okay, so by changing only this one, it would change everything. Okay, good. Easy. Boob head. Boob head. Head booba. Booba head. Okay. Let me try adding the white color. Okay, I'm back. Welcome back. Oh wait, behind the fur should be fine. I mean, I can hide this, right? Yep. Actually looks a little weird. Maybe I'll do this. Also, I kinda want to just chill out a little bit today. So, I'm not gonna listen to any doom music. Oh my god, scared shit out of me. It's just table slam. I don't know, I'll keep it like this for now. The spider has claimed your fan is a residence? Oh, you mean the spider just lives in your fan now? Cool. I'm afraid of spiders though. I would jump. No, I'm afraid of any bugs in general, I believe. Can't use it? Oh no. Afraid of spooders? Very. Very afraid of spooders. Oh, shit. I know a spider streamer, she's been known to help people overcome the fear of spiders a bit too much. I only know a spider streamer called Spirito Greedy, I believe. It's a cute spooder. Don't know if we are talking about the same streamer. Maybe not. I don't know. Not gonna say her name here. No wanting to advertise it on the stream, but I can DM you later. Okay, sure. Can. So many spider yippers. I know, right? The yippers. They're everywhere. You're gonna love the yippers. Honestly, before I start streaming this morning, I was thinking about whether I want to do Tears of the Kingdom or this. And then I realized I need to do this. I want to finish my dragon model. I want to see how she looks once like she's done. And because of that, I'm here. Honestly, I'm glad I'm here doing art instead of playing Tears of the Kingdom. I mean, I would love to play Tears of the Kingdom, but not today. Kind of hard to get it right. Probably because there's a lot less polygons here. Yeah, that's why. It's fine, I got this. Art cool? Yeah. And then put Robbie costume and dragon to a best of both? Robbie? Robbie? Oh, you mean the character that helped Joshua in the depths. I guess, but I don't really like Robbie as much, to be honest. I mean, he's not dragon. Science man? Okay. Oh, I forgot about this. Okay. This is gonna be hard. Wait a minute. Oof. Who else would you rather dress up as? Huh. There's so many dragons out there. Although the first one that comes to mind is actually Chiron, from Legends. I don't know if I ever talk about Chiron. Alright, give me a second. Don't know if you guys know about Chiron as well. the white dragon in Legend. Legend. Oh yeah. This one. This is like a very old, not very old, but quite an old anime. But this is one of the main dragon in the anime. There's also like other. Does it make a unique sound per key? No. And then Shiron has like multiple different forms, I believe. I mean, it's not very obvious, but this is like, here's another form. It's not very obvious, but this was shot in the anime. Yeah, see, 6 wings and stuff. Yeah, cool. Good dragon. Very nice. Very cool as well. Very nice anime. Recommend watching. I think it's just called Legend. Legend with Z. Legends. Why does it look so different? Oh, I don't know which one is like the one. Yomigaru Ryu wo Densetsu? Oh, it's this one. Yeah. It's not the Wikipedia one, it's this one. Legends. This one. I mean, I know I don't watch a lot of anime, but this is like my technically first ever anime that I binge watched. There's like 50 episodes, I believe. Actually has very good dragon design and a lot of good characters in there as well. Anthropomorphic characters in there. It's like really good anime. Story is not too bad. It evolves in 3 or 4 kids, I believe. Yeah, I think there's 4 kids going through trying to save the whole city, I think. Like this show went from a kids show to like actual action anime. Like I vaguely remember the first few episodes. The show is like trying to teach kids how to pronounce a certain word. You know how like a kids show they will have like a word and then the pronunciation, someone pronounce it like 3 times. Like, yeah, that's how you teach them, like the kids, you know, like that kind of thing. Like it has some educational value, and then towards like halfway through the show they go batshit insane with the action packs now. So no more kids show, it is now action packed. So it's like I'm glad, you know, I'm glad. I'm very happy, right? Watch it, it's good. It's not bad. I like. Not a lot of dragons in there, but the dragon is one of the main legends, so there. On the list it goes, yeah! Another soul has been converted. Apple. Apples. Apple. It's like Elmo. Elmo. I cannot make the noise. How do you even make Elmo noise? It's insane. It feels like you have to like cover up your nostrils. Or if your nostril just make Elmo noises. I can listen to this one for the whole day, honestly. It's good music. Good way of doing it. Something cool when a show something goes shonen battle. Shonen battle. It does. It really does. Like I admit the first few episodes is more chill than ever for Legends. But when the action comes in, like when the action sets in, I got like mad hooked. Like it's actually good. Although yeah, Legends has some filler episodes, you know, like a few filler episodes to be honest, but they are not terrible. Albeit, honestly, I watched it 2 times to be honest. the second time I watched through it, I sort of skipped the filler episodes because they are not very important. Well, they are important on the first watch because you want to know, at least I want to know some backstory for a certain character. So yeah, I think not bad. I think there's only 2 or 3 filler episodes out of 50. I think. I cannot remember clearly. It has been a while. And by a while I mean a few years, at least. I'm contemplating whether if I want to... I kind of want to just add the white as a whole, like until the eyebrow area. Would this be weird? Filler can be cool, but it's difficult. Oh yeah. To make a filler episode cool is like the most... You gotta put in so much effort to make a filler episode good. You know? It's hard. It's difficult. It's like super difficult to make it interesting, at least, you know? Like, first thing about filler episodes, if it's a character you don't care, why bother? For me personally, right? Why bother? It's not even a character that I'm interested in. And then there goes the fifth episode. Oh god. Car9, hi. Is this fine? I don't know. This is weird. It's a little weird. Just a little weird. Maybe not? Nah. Nah. Nuh-uh. There's the HP bar there. No? What do you mean HP bar? I don't see it. Not there. Your eyes lie to you. It doesn't exist. It is pretty much non-existent. My character tech driving lessons is a topic for a filler. Oh, you know what? If I see a dragon driving car, I would like it. Like context, we were talking about Legends, the anime. When I eat the stuff, I saw it in there. No, it's not there. You don't see it. Nuh-uh. Oh. No. Hide it. No one sees the thing. Like, it's not there. You saw nothing.
No.
Oh my god. Pinky, no. Pinky, no. Oh god. No. You missed. Okay, now you're just giving me gifts, I think. Huh? I'm back here now. Hi. Okay, I'm back. Ow. I think I just went to Matrix. Oh. Ooh, nice hat. I think the yellow goes behind the tail as well, if I remember correctly. Pure Riff. Oh yeah, I just forgot to color it. I just forgot to color it. It's like, yeah. It's definitely not white. It's definitely not white. Gosh, I'm so lazy. No, why are you trying to stab? I know you can't hide that. Ouch! I see a lot of video with doing it. It's the best routine. I mean, I'm guilty. I always love to throw things at them until they ragdoll. Which is why I make it an ouch redeem. I said ouch, but I didn't say what it does. It's a gamble. But once people know about it, well, well, yeah, you know what happens. Well, Speaking of VTubers, though, software. Like, I'm trying to talk about software here. I hate because my PC is not strong, if at all, right? My PC cannot handle most of the things together with the 3D softwares. I just wish there's a software out there who that is more optimized than this. Did I just change language? Okay. Because needing to open VC Face and also VTuber Plus, VC Face for face tracking, VTuber Plus for throwing things, is a little hard on my PC, to be honest. Which is why most of the time, or sometime when I play like games that is more intensive, I have to like close up the 3D software and become 2D. Not bad by all means, but I do wish that I can just remain 3D for maximum interactability. That's a word, right? So yeah. Sadly, optimization is as important as it is difficult. I mean, look at what I'm doing. This fucking model has like 26k or 25k polygons in total. And then here I am talking about optimization, huh? Stupid. But yeah, seriously though, I wish there's like a one single software to just do all of those. Instead of having to open up 2 of them. That means double the double the tracking, you know, double the resource, double the resource usage. It's just the thing that I find the most annoying, to be honest. Lately, anyway, knowing there's so many games out, so many games that's out that is quite intensive as well. Street Fighter 6. Tekken 8. I heard the Tekken 8 minimum requirement looks promising. After the test, after like the closed alpha test, I heard like the minimum requirement for Tekken 8 doesn't seem too harsh. Maybe a bit too much. Tekken 8 won't be bad to run. Tekken 7 being a bit bad despite requirements. True. Tekken 7, my PC still struggles with Tekken 7 sometimes. At the lowest possible setting, mind you. The alpha will authentic the setups? That I don't know, to be honest. I think it's shown here. Tekken 8. Oh shit, what the fuck? Don't show my thing, come on. Tekken 8. Going to bed now, bye. Okay, Rocket. Thanks for hanging around. Have good sleep. Oh, it's not here? Oh wait, it is here. God damn it, Mr. Robin. Oh, wait, it's not here. Where did it show? I think it's on the YouTube channel. Let me see if I can find it then. System requirement according to Bandai Namco. Oh yeah, tell me about it. Minimum requirement SSD GTX 1650, 8 GB. Well, there goes my setup. This is the minimum requirement that I found on a YouTube channel randomly. And it doesn't look good currently because my PC is nothing like this. Would be funny if 8 ran better than 7. Honestly, yeah, but this is Unreal Engine 5 we're talking about. It's not RE Engine. RE Engine is like very optimized, whereas Unreal Engine is purely for like, I don't think they optimize well, to be honest. This is the minimum requirement and I'm a little concerned. And by a little, I mean I'm extra concerned. But I believe I signed up for the Tekken 8 beta, Tekken 8 close beta test, I think. It's in my Hotmail. If I can find it. Well, there's the email. They should have like the Tekken 8 website here. Give me a second. Why are you in JPEN, please? Oh my god. Okay, I found it. Who's better for cosplayer than a Tekken veteran? I'm not a Tekken veteran. Okay, so here's the thing. The minimum specification here says otherwise, I think. Although my memory, I don't think Memory, I have 24 gigs, right? Yeah, this is memory, and I believe I had 24 gigs of this. Ken's the Gator. Ken's the Gator? Hi. Almost 2 a.m. Oh god. Wait, 2 a.m.? It's 2 p.m. here then? Oh, it is. No sleep, gang. Wow. Honestly, I sleep at 2 as well, most of the time. Wake up in, have some pops, things. And pops, nice. Sleep stinks? No! Sometimes sleep is good, alright? Sometimes. Yeah, I was reading this and was like, hey, Tekken 8 seems fine for like the minimum specifications, you know. This one, I'm over. I don't know about this one, to be honest. This one, of course lah, huh? Low, off. Alright, see, they have off, not low. Resolution on sweet 1080p. I mean, yeah, looks good, to be honest, right? Looks good. Resolution off. Oh no. It's just nothing. It's just nothing there. I don't know about my DirectX though. Like, what is this? I don't know. What is this? Write a haiku? Rewrite using synonyms? AI prompts? Since when this is a thing? Okay, I highlight this and then write a haiku. Oh, Che, you need an account. No. So yeah, this is the one, and I already signed up for this. I already applied, so hopefully I get the thing. Hopefully I get the thing so that I can try out this game. And by this game I mean Chocolate 8, right? Chocolate 8. It's in July though. In July I'll still be here. And I say this because in December 8 to 16 I will not be here. But it's a long time ago. It's a long time like coming, so don't worry. I love the fart noises, I really do. Okay, let me see. What else do I need? I'm just gonna paint down here until the tail. Good luck. Beta's very cool to be part of. True. I remember playing the open beta of Street Fighter 6. It's open beta, but I still feel good about it. Like, I kinda like it. I should do this, it's fine. Like, towards the end, it's just a whole tail tip. It's fine. Beta and Timo is what convinced me that it is a good game despite no previous interest. Yeah. I mean, you get to try out the game firsthand, so it's like. Oh my god, camera! Why? What are you doing, camera? Thanks. That looks a little weird. Why does this look weird? Hi, Savia. Welcome back, Blab. Be anything good? I think I'm just gonna do this. Like, yes, just smoothing them out. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know if I want to like give the whole backhand a yellow as well. And do I stay true to the reference I had? Keep the brown lines. Like, do I keep the brown lines? Maybe I'll add here and also behind, but not like this one. This is clearly wrong, by the way. Like, what? The line goes like an upside down U. I mean, I could alter it and not just like this. And also, I'm not gonna add the stripes like this. Do I? Oh wait, this one is not. What? Maybe don't do this then. I'll just start abruptly somewhere. You know, yeah. I'll keep the brown line. Oh my god, 3D space. It's so hard. Let's see. This. There we go. Alright. Are you guys sick of this music yet? Because I'm not. I am thoroughly enjoying this music right now. And I've been playing the same music for 1.5 hours at least. Me and my friend Guardian, who were playing Mortal Kombat 11, paid ultimate price playing very hard mode. So kind of range on it. I assume range is rage, because very hard mode. I mean, fighting game hard mode, it's because in Tekken 7 the ultra hard is just useless. And other games, fighting game, Damn Throwing Hurts, for example, being very hard means that it is very fucking hard. The AI will always win against you with every button press, albeit like 1 frame faster, and we just counter you and then do a big boy combo, or just fucking DP when you press the button. So there you go. Two kinds of AI out there. All right. And something like Yip Fighter 6 is fight nor Yip Lee and have a hard time, or Yip Sweep and Drive Impact for a Yip Bassy time. Yip Bassy time. Yeah, the Street Fighter 6 and Street Fighter 6 AI doesn't really know about the system mechanics, huh? Drive Impact, Drive Parry. I mean, mostly Drive Impact because it's really strong. I love Drive Impact. Leads to a big combo. Very sweet. Very delicious. I'll try to reduce the bleeding here. Okay. No more bleeding. need to alter the snoot more afterwards. I can alter the snoot in Blender. Should be fine. Maybe not bleeding too much outside. Yeah. Need to add teeth afterwards. I don't think lips work this way. Me wonders how Mortal Kombat 11 is since it's famous for single player. Oh, Mortal Kombat is famous for single player? I had no idea. To be fair, I don't play much Mortal Kombat like at all. And stream on YouTube like 45 minutes because of too much rage. Understandable. How long you stream normally? Yeah, I was wondering as well. If... Oh, you didn't mention that it's short. But 45 minutes seems on the shorter side, I think. But it's not necessarily like a very short stream. Any stream of any duration is fine. And then there's me, a dumbass who goes for like 6 hours at least every time. At least I'm enjoying doing this, so I'm not complaining much. Random 12-hour Tylra stream. Oh my god. My normal stream basically... I am... Okay, basically between 4 hours to 6. Oh. Oh damn, that's quite the stream, yeah. And that's quite the time. I feel like this one is too bare bones. It's bare bones because back then this here is like white before because of the fluffy. What if I just paint it white here? Like no fluff, but just white. It's like a sport band. It's like a that works! I do intend to make her into like a sport character. She likes badminton. And she likes martial arts. So my dream character. I play badminton, but I'm never good with martial art or like anything fighting at all. You know what? I'm keeping this. Look at that. The sports band. Actually, now that I think about it. If I add another layer, let me try it. Like, if I add height to it, what will happen? Height. Even here as well. Yeah, the mouth looks janky, of course. Oh, wait, the horn. If I push the horn in, then I can cheat. Know what I mean? Look at that. It adds a little bit of this to it. A little weird, but at least it pushes in. It's the cheat. No, no, I'm lazy. Now looks like someone who rival Ryu. I'll do Shoryuken. Tatsumaki Senpu Kyaku. Yeah, at least I add something to the hand. Okay, I mean, simple, but works. Legs. So I have a few. Yo, mama. Oh my god. I am awake. Hi, Narix. How you doing? Sleepy. Same. Same. Just want to finish the basic coloring of this one. Like the very bare bone basic. Also, I changed the snoot on Blender, but I think I need to change a little bit more. It doesn't show here because it's a different model. But I just want the texture data. Thanks, Black. I'm looking at my last recording stream. My longest is 10 hours and 7 hours. 10 hours is long. 7 hours is long. Oh, my cobalt bolster? Bolster? What does bolster mean? Wait, what? Bolster? Huh? Isn't bolster big? That sounds wrong. Wait, what? You know, I'm actually keeping the lines here. I'm keeping these two. Meaning that it goes from the knees. I don't think I'm going to go for the shin because it doesn't show much. This one actually looks like it's from like ankles. Look, I love drop crotch design back then, okay? How would I implement this? The easiest way would be on the knees. Like the easiest way. A much harder way is to implement them around this part here, I think. I think this little bracelets here is at the ankle. Ankle! So ankle is around this area. Then that will be the hard part, right? Crotch cool, a bad crotch messes legs up. Yeah. Oh, I forgot about the bell. The bell is no big deal. I can just add it now even. I think I still have the alpha for the bell. Okay, I'll think. Give me a second. Do I still have the alpha? Oh, nope, the alpha is gone. Why did I delete it? You know, it's actually not hard to make the alpha. Let me drink. I will drink. No, you know what? There's one little thing I want to discuss a little bit. I mean, it's of a personal matter, but it's about my teeth. I wanted to pull it off so badly because it hurts very badly. But now, after eating the inflammation medication, it feels like the inflammation is sort of gone. So now it doesn't hurt anymore. I don't know if I still need to pull the teeth off. Like, I don't know. It doesn't hurt anymore. Like, it still hurts because it has been suppressed. They did mention it's internal tooth decay, but my teeth is still like so fine. I can't even bite it now. Like, I can just go like. Woo! Thanks, Brecky. And what do you do? Don't stop treatment just because it stops hurting temporarily? Oh shit, you know what? Actually, you're right. Okay, I'm glad I talked about this. That almost convinced me not to do it. Worst mistake since ever? Honestly, yeah. Should have figured. What do I want to do again? Oh, bell, yeah. What do we call those bells? Bell. Vector art? Vector art would be easy. No, I don't want bell like this. I want the bell like this kind of bell. Hell's bells? That's what they're called? Bells. Bells. Didn't he? Oh, wait, no, that's not the Hell's bells. Also, why is there Didney? Didney? Why? Why is there Didney? It's right behind me. That's Didney. Didney. Round bell? Oh, there it is. Cowbells? Oh, maybe not. I was wondering which bell you meant. Nay? This bell. This one. This kind of bell. But I found it. It's called round bell. Somehow that works. Vector. If I have vector art, then it will be easy to make it into an alpha. See, this is already good. Let me steal. Oh, it's not good. Oh no. Wind chime. This one I'm pretty sure if I reverse it, it'll be good. It's like the most basic. I'll make it 2 bells in one. Ooh, you know what? I like the idea. Why have one where you can have 2? Here, let's make a very shitty budget one. Okay, we save this picture. We steal this picture, pretty much. Let me close Blender first. They're not safe. I changed the shoot here, which is like, no, I'm gonna save. There. Here are the emotes we get when searching for bell. Wind chime, bell, no bell, bellhop bell, bell pepper, and 2 unseeable emotes. Where's field? Oh, add filter mask. So we need, it's already like no color, but let's close the saturation so that it's good. And then invert. And here we have it. This is the alpha. Actually, no, cancel this. Let me see if I can sharpen it. Oh, it worked. Oh wait, no, that become weird. Unsharp mask? How much can I unsharp? It doesn't seem to do much. Cancel this one. Okay, I mean, this is good enough already. I'm gonna save as a separate one. Always save as PNG because PNG is just a better file format in general. Okay, now we drop. Actually, we can close this now. Drop this here. It is an alpha to the project. Oh my god, I love colors. And then do a save. Nice. Bell reference PNG. There. So now I can just go to the yellow color and just change the alpha to this. It's like a paste. Oh, it's only at behind, it's not even at the front. Yeah, I should make it bigger. Big bell? Yeah, big bell. Because I feel like right now it's too small. Don't mirror this, by the way. Only one side. Big. Big. What do you call this? Ass bells? Ass bells. Ass bells. Alright, got them ass bells. I think I just need to like sort of... without black lines looks a little weird. Like without the outline, yeah. Specifically got turned into a specialty. A good paste for 3D art, it is. Alpha is always good. Good for dancing, makes noises. Ass bells. The shake make noises, huh? I was thinking maybe if I can... Let me try. Change the alpha back to shape. Why do you not look like black color? This looks so sad. I'll just purposefully leave one space here so that it's like empty in the middle. See if I can do it properly. My god, this shit hard. I mean, at least looking from afar, now I can look at the bell more closely. See a difference? This one is more accented. Yeah, I'm keeping it. Like, looking close, it's not the best. The line is super bad, but looking from afar, it's an accent, you know? Your design reminds you of something that could be in the Super Mario 3D world? Super Mario 3D world? How did the bell get there in terms of lore? Oh shit, I have no lore for my character. If I say birthmark, it's gonna be like pony. If I say it's birthmark, people are gonna associate my dragon to pony, which I don't want. Wait, is it? Are you thicker? No, you're not. Wait, what? Oh, I think just less polygons here. Oh no! Okay, this is gonna be hard. Is it a natural formation? Tattoo, spell, flatten, glued bell, glued bell. Oh my god, glued bell. It's so scuff. I love it. Maybe not tattoo. Natural formation? Sounds a lot like natural formation if I consider this as a birthmark. Putting bell in perfect symmetrical trash compactor attaches with strong a very strong compactor. I want to leave like a very, very fine hole. But it's so hard to do this. And it's hard to make it look good. Okay. Okay, you know what? Fine. That looks okay. From afar. Please don't zoom in this part. You will see how messy the line is. Please don't do this. All right. Oh my god! What is this? But yeah, looking from afar, it looks okay now. At least. Let's consider the bell, the ass bell, as a natural formation. You put that on your card? Wow. You have a card? Whoa. Okay, that's the ass bells. And now... this spell is a natural formation. Oh shit, I still have this open. Ah, I'm such a child. I'm such a child. I think I kind of want the fur to just be like the same color as this one. Let me put it in right now. This should be easy. Like just add, delete this. Boop. Add the fill layer. Disable. Actually, no. I need a roughness. Go to base color, color pick. Boop. There, done. That's it. That's it. And also the roughness to about 0.7. Same as the body then. There. So if I look at roughness, they all should be, yep, okay, they should be the same. And of course, this one inside is like more, less roughness because it's inside the mouth. If there's any other place I want to lower the roughness, I don't see any currently. Wait, there's no normal map? Oh, there's no, huh? I thought I picked it. Oh, it's already here. Okay, so it doesn't need to show it here. No height mesh, there it is. I didn't realize like these things will look so cool. And also collarbone here. I actually like it. Does it have a card, but you would? Wow. I'll take that as a big compliment. It's just a bell, but I'll take it. I'll add the line here then. I swear to God, the camera sometimes just doesn't make sense. I think the control click a place. Okay, must be control click. Because I don't remember Substance as much. A very sudden question for y'all. It is something that I'm quite curious and that I kind of want to ask about for a little bit. So me, I like to go, so in terms of like going out to eat now, I like to go to, if I find a place that I really love, I will go to that one single place for years. Like actually just go there years. Not even thinking of going to any other place to have my dinner or just a meal in general. I'll go to the same place over and over again, non-stop, for years. And I mean years. I think I'm pretty much a loyal customer. Do you think that's weird? Like, do you think that is unnatural? Because to my family, it is very unnatural. They abhor this. Because every time they ask me to go, like, I'll go get a takeaway for the family, then it's like, where are you going? Same place? Fuck you. It hurts me, but I just think it's I just consider it's a little bit funny as well. Okay, it hurts me, but also a little bit funny. Not weird. Why would it be weird? They already know that you like it. Yeah, that's the thing. I like the place. That's why I go to the same place over and over again. Like, why change when there's already something that I love? You know, like, I don't mind trying new things when push comes to shove. Something like if I'm going out on a family dinner and then they want to go someplace else, then yeah, they can do that. You know, they can just change the place. It's fine. But when I'm going out alone, why judge when I go to the same place? And then I'm going there alone. It's not, I mean, of course I have to take away food, but still. That's kind of mean. To say that I'm fucking weird to go to the same place over and over again for almost 3 years. Like, I do that. Even when I'm in KL, I do that. The same place. The chef or the waitress there, the waiters over there just like look at me. It's like, same thing. Sama. Yeah. Like, kway teow goreng kambing. And minum teh lima ais. Yeah, something like that. You know, like they know what I'm trying to eat already. So I just sit down and then go like, yeah, sama. and then eat my food, enjoy it. What's not to like about that, you know? It's cool, it's great, it's fucking great. So it's just something I feel confused about. If it floats your boat, it's honestly whatever. I can respect that perspective. They don't feel that way, but yeah, that would be great. Does your family shop grocery at the same place? Yes. They always go to a place called Everwin because the price over there is low and not bad. It's like some sort of a supermarket with a lot of things in there. Good price. Why is your preference considered weird in comparison? Probably because they don't think grocery shopping at the same place is not weird because the pricing and everything is good, but to go to the same place over and over again to have meal when I'm in Malaysia where there's like 10,000 other places to go is weird, I guess. That's my only guess. I don't like it, but I guess. Oh, let's play. I want to add this line here. I know this is not in my reference, but I want this line. I like it. Shop in a different grocery store, easy. Buy fruit from a different restaurant every time, e.g. Come home to a different house every time, e.g. We're trying to come home to a different house. Wait a minute, how many houses do you have? I have 3 houses. I can go whichever I want. Dude, that is so cool. Imagine having 3 houses. Like, I vibe with that house today. Let's go. Oh my god, that sounds like a dick move. Oh my god. 3 houses? Holy shit. Honestly, I would love that. Not as many as restaurants or grocery stores, but yeah, run on either of house. Living different lives. Uh-oh. Reincarnation? Okay, let me see. This one. Oh yeah, I removed the ears. I forgot. I was like, something is missing. And then I realized, yeah, I removed the ear for this character. For this current model. Because the horn plus fin is already like maxed out on the head thing, so didn't add the ear to it. I could add ears. No, I couldn't. It's already full. Max occupancy. Have an identity and family for every town and city. Oh my god, that's huge. How do you do that? It's not much, but I kind of like it. But let's modify it a little bit. I was just kind of willy-nilly adding this one in. Can I just do willy-nilly? Kinda want to just color the beans. I kind of just add the beans like here, and then using height map for it. It's almost the same as the cobalt has, and then add a little thickened balls here. Yeah. I mean, I would like that. Okay, let's add it. It's not hard. Can recognize where we try to go. If the people in the restaurant already know you, that's sort of like an identity there. Mm-hmm. It totally does, right? No, I don't think I need that. Oh. I think it's the polygon count here is too less. That's why it's happening. The weird bump here. See this? This one doesn't have it. This one has serious bump issues. I could, yeah, this one doesn't have it. Yeah, the more I go down, it just has it. Smaller bean in the middle or bigger bean in the middle. I could just ignore it. Oh my god, this one is even worse. What? Oh, it's a UV. Oh yeah, I forgot. I cut the UV there. I cut to inside. Whoa. Oh my god, that scared the shit out of me. Save. The tower has plenty of room for 9 wyverns to be perched on the pads, built in plus additional capacity for summer essentials. Dragons though, nice. Always have space for more friends. The cut, the seam. There's nothing I can do about it. The seam is there. It looks like shit. Unless I do smaller bean, that's all I can think of. It looks kind of like nails. Oh yeah, I see it. it does, it does. Yeah, since this is just bump map, this is the most bump I can do. I believe I already have the height on the maximum. Yeah, it's at the maximum. So maybe not at the maximum, I guess. Let me see. Maybe just bump a little bit. I mean, it doesn't show much. In the end, it's still textures. Maybe I'll just bump up a little bit like this. Like, not even maximum bump, because maximum bump looks a little weird. In a way. I'll keep it like this, it's fine. Beans bump. No, rather than saying taken balls, maybe I should just say upside down love. How about that? Upside down love. It might be better than taken balls. Yeah. While building an archetype will evolve, it's big and tall enough to house 9 of the second largest flyer that is essentially tameable. I just love playing with mods in Ark Survival so that I can tame the dragons. Like a lot of other dragons that allows taming. And then there's also dragon guards, which basically breaks the game once I have them. Gonna love the dragon guards mod. It's shaping out quite nicely, right? Not bad. And then now I just need to add... Is it possible to add here? Like, who sees this? You know what this reminds me of? sports bands, ankle bands, wristbands. It's fitting. It's fitting for the sport theme. Oh my god, I actually clever. Knee bands. Oh, knee. Oh my god. Gosh, I have the biggest brain that I've ever brained. It's at a knee band to it. So I guess band I'll use white color then, right? Gonna keep the band color the same. Am I right or am I right? Knee band's supposed to be bigger. Referring to crystal ravens, the regular ravens are the largest flyer that's tameable, and Desert Titan is the absolute largest flyer, but you ultimately kill itself for a period of time. Yeah, I know. Hey, I play Ark Survival as well. I know something. Maybe not as veteran as you, but yeah. I do enjoy Ark Survival though. And sadly my PC cannot handle it. I have to make it into an extreme potato for it to barely work. And then the game itself is so big, it's insane. How big is the game again? About 140 gigabytes, I think. 140 gigabytes or something, I think. It is that big, it's insane. I think this is thick enough for a band. Those Titans are a perma-tame, aren't a perma-tame. In a sense, it's kind of fair because the amount of damage. Oh yeah, if it's a perma-tame. I mean, if you're playing PvE, that's fine. If you're playing PvP, then yeah, if those are perma-tame, you can just leave the server and not play anymore. PvP Titan meta. Now that's just cheating. That is just Game Shark moment. It's too much. Imagine you're in the base doing base things and you just see a Titan, the Titan striding to your location. Yeah, run and just give up all your possessions. Like, fighting that thing is already terrible. Fighting a human-controlled Titan? Run. You have no chance of survival. Yeah, that's the thing. It can wreck tech with no issue. I think it's safe to say with no issue, just break those things like it's metal. Like, bye-bye. Add a fill layer. It's about this color. It has two. How do I fit two? one big, one small then. Oh, then. It's like a pseudo love, you know? Or a bean. Or a coffee bean. I don't know. Oh, hi, malicious magpie. Doesn't sound the most balanced with its temporary allies. Doesn't. Not to mention getting slapped stone by one, just by that instant kills ridiculous LP Gigas. I mean, you pitch a Gigas against a Titan, you know the result. The Titan stand on his hind legs and then just bye-bye. Bye-bye. GG. Shake my hand, shake my hand, GG. GG, shake my hand. Oh, this one looks good. I'll revise this one. That mark, I don't think it resembles anything. I don't think it does resemble anything, other than just look cool. You want a character with good lore? Don't ask me. You want lore? Not here. Not here. You won't. You have to get it right. I'll just keep it this way. Have to shake hand when flattened than the pain, flatter than the pain came to vacuum. No, shake my hand. I use the Titan. I win. Shake my hand. What's the law behind their relationship to Tylra? I think I mentioned her being like a very caring mother towards Tylra, I guess. It is as much as a relationship between a dragon and a kobold. Donkeyboy has the listed as a capital letter word. Is that a pronoun situation? I don't know. There. Something like that. I don't know if I want to change that for now. That's like the basic setting I'm gonna go for currently. A mother that knows martial art and badminton. I absolutely love badminton because I love badminton. Simple, very simple. This is like the power of being an artist. You can just make whatever you want. God, this curve here looks delicious. How the fuck do I do that? This little spike here and also here. I am like laser focused on this thing because I need to look at what's going on. Yeah. Take badminton hammer and karate kick the badminton ball. What is this bola takraw? Your PC? No, I think it's my PSU. No, not the PC. Hurts. It hurts to just read it. Oh god. The void worm. The void worm is a formidable thing to tame. Requires a ridiculously expensive item that makes element look like mere wood. Well, dragons. Strong. Nice. The whole unit is unresponsive. Oh. I'm stretching. I don't even work in laptop sing around. Oh god. So you're on your phone, I assume? Mobile, Twitch mobile. Oh god. Okay, let's have a look from afar. Basic color-wise, this might be it. Right? Like, basic color-wise, actually, this might be it. The back might be a little bit bare bone. A pinky, how am I gonna stretch so many things? What do you mean I cannot stretch so many? I cannot just... There's no... I stretched! Pinky, no. No. Oh god. Void worms are basically a mechanical wyvern that literally chomps through anything you place down, even tech is the same for it. Yeah. I see the control is backwards. Yoga. Yoga fire. Yoga flame. Yoga teleport. Yoga. Yoga. I cannot yoga. What do you mean? I don't yoga. I cannot yoga. Like, generally, I think color-wise, this might be it. The sport band might need some work, I guess. It looks a little out of place, I think. It looks a little, just a little out of place. Or maybe it's because from the front view alone, I can't really look at the sports band. I'm calling the white straps as a sports band now. Give it a logo. What logo? Add more bells? Add more bells? Add more natural formation? Sports bands? Not couple. Wait a minute. It might be. It might be. I'm not saying anything. What if I just add like a smaller... How many honking does there has to happen? I'm assuming there's someone downstairs. I don't even want to move. Underbelly plating. You want me to add plating? I cannot add plating in well, I can, but it's gonna be like huge hassle. I wonder if I can just do like the simple shit. If I just do... No, it doesn't work that way. Small? You're small, Roxas. You're just a bunai. I'll do it at the safe. Oh, I forgot. Solar told me about the underbelly plating. Works in ZBrush, and I think that's way easier. Roxas is prey. Yes. Good. Eat. Makan. What the fuck? Why did that scare the shit out of me? Fitting logo for sport art. Oh, you mean the logo to put on... Oh, I misunderstood. I was like a logo somewhere else. Okay, fitting logo for sport worn by a dragon who likes badminton and martial arts will incorporate elements from both sports and dragon symbolism. Here's a description of the logo. The logo features a dynamic composition with a stylized dragon in mid-action, showcasing athleticism and strength. The dragon is depicted in a sleek, streamlined form with sinuous curves and flowing lines, conveying agility and speed. How will I do a dragon mid-action? I'm actually kind of curious. I don't think I can do it here. Give me a moment. Do a square. 500 for a good icon, I think. To incorporate the badminton yip theme, the dragon is depicted holding a badminton racket in one hand, yips to strike to strike a shuttle yip. The yip kit is a yip trick yiply designed with a fusion of traditional and modern elements. It may feature a dragon yip dragon yip cannon, dragon ghost yip cannon, pattern on a rack yip, on rack yip head, or seal yip wet of a badminton player in action to represent martial yip. The dragon's other hand is raised in a defensive position, showcasing the dragon's discipline and calm yip. The hand could have hints of traditional martial art attire, such as a wrapped wrist or fingerless glove. In the background, there could be abstract swoosh. That's not logo. Logo has no background. There could be abstract swoosh of energy lines symbolizing movement and speed, adding a sense of dynamism to the logo. Additionally, a circular patch and borders around the dragon symbolizing unity and completeness. Is that AI generated thing? Yep. Because when I say logo and then suddenly become background, it's like, this is AI. Yeah, I changed Butchbot to Yip. Clever, right? Now Dragon Yip. Dragon can Yip. But honestly, for the first few one was pretty clever. I like this pencil. I was thinking... Wait, no, I don't... This without pressure. Yeah. This without the flow pressure. Full size? What is this again? Oh, opacity, I forgot. No pressure. So now it's just... So puts a ton of color descriptions in there and me left out. Ooh. How about a simple yin yang with a basic square wave pattern going around the borders? Yin yang with a basic square wave pattern? Simple yet professional is a good design. Simple yet professional is a very vague term in terms of like logo design, but generally, yeah, it needs to be simple. Each logo has like if you look at the logo, it conveys a certain message. Is what professional is. So any sharp edges means that it's striking. Any soft edges means that it's like it's a soft spot, something like that. In terms of logo design, there's so many things to think about, but I just don't know how to make a good logo. And here I am spouting shit when I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, if I can do a yin yang, can I do this? Wow. Perfect. I give up. No. What's it mean when the logo is being simplified to an already iconic design? That is oversimplification. It happens to a lot of corporations, to be honest. Look like some kind of mice. Nah, I can't think of any logo or some shit. Like, how can you even think about a logo? Why is there a dot there? What the fuck? What the fuck? Why is there a dot there? What do you mean? I'm bad. Don't worry about it. Is this how jaw works? I'm pretty sure it's not. And then goes behind. goes behind. It's just like oh wait, no. Why am I using this stupid... I cannot control flow, and here I am trying to do shit like this. Let me try something. Okay. In my mind, there's something like a very fierce looking thing. Wait. Let me just add like a very... No, I cannot have like... See where I'm going? And then add another one here. And actually behind here, I'm just gonna add like... It's a shrimp! It's a shrimp! It's a shrimp! At this, we have a shrimp. At this, we have a shrimp. We have a shrimp! We found it! We found the shrimp! Firm has hit the limit for registration. They didn't expect it to go batshit insane like that. I mean, good for them. Good for them. Fuck yeah. I also didn't understand the concept of logo. Oh. Yep. Yep. Okay, no logo. Bah. That was fun. Why not more bells, right? Why not more bells? One more at the back? One more at the back? I just feel like the back is a little bare bones. Like, the back is quite empty. Although I know the back has the fur. You know what? The back has the fur. What am I thinking? The fur is good enough. Right? Let me see if I can play around the thing. Let me see. All libraries. All libraries. What's this? What will happen if I do this? Wowee! Wowee! Super Dragon Tree. Oh, wait. Nah, it's too weird. Pure gold. Oh, my mouse died. I thought my PC crashed. Oh my god, this is gonna shit on me. God damn it. Okay, let me get the charger. Maybe I should get a wired mouse. Like, as good as this is without the wires, something like this happens, just pain. It's just a little bit of pain. Anyway, it's here. Oh, it's very short. Where's the extension? Can we just charge mouse with USB? Oh, I can, yeah. Oh wait, then I don't need to buy a wired mouse. What am I thinking? Plug this and then plug this. It's here, right? And then to chop this one. Okay. It now has the battery. There we go. Honestly though, what if I just add lurk appointment clock drawing closer? Okay. Good luck with whatever appointment that is. Best of wishes. What if I make them gold? What if I make them absolutely metallic? Like, what if I make all of the yellow color absolutely metallic with maximum roughness? Whoa! God damn, look at that. No, that's metal. I can't help but think that I kind of like this. I kind of like this. What the fuck? I don't know. It's almost as if I am shiny myself. Oh no. Let me see. Metallic 5.54. So it's 0.12. Easier to keep number. And then if I add the skin, if I make the skin also like metal. Whoa! Wow! Is this Magneto? Whoa! Oh my god! It's shiny! Looks like Electrum. I don't know what Electrum is. With reflective gold. It's shiny. Magneto will crush you easy. Magneto which is like, I will magnetize you and you cannot move. With the reflected shine, your markings will cuff mark. Oh my god! Sports band. Sports band becomes cuff marks. Kela Nola. JK la ho. Back to 0.7. See, this is why I love 3D art. You get some janky shit like this. But then again, the fur being like this is actually kinda cool. Like, I have to say, I kinda like it. Maybe if I just keep the fur like this, it will be weird, don't it? So if I were reflective horn, no. Ooh, let me try. Reflective horn, so I just need to do this. Or is it not? No, it is supposed to be reflecting, but I don't know why it's not. You need to be reflective, you need metallic, I think? Yeah, okay, so you need metallic for it to be absolutely reflective. So I can do this easy enough, I think? I could just make a separate layer of this one. Becoming cuff. I can't. Oh wait, reflective horn plus reflective plus metal plus gold fur actually is kind of cool though. Like, I don't know why, but it fits. It fit. Mecha Dirk? No. I'm not into mecha. Like, I don't really like mecha stuff. Okay, then let's try to keep the reflective horn, but not the sports band. Add another fill layer. I just need 2 of these. Oh my god! Here. And the black mask. So I just remove this. There we go. And then copy mask. Paste into mask. So I should look. Okay. It is like this. So now I can become metallic. So it was 0.54, I think. And 0.12. It's sort of close to being like similar to this one. A little bit. Maybe a little less roughness, I think. Yeah, so that it doesn't really reflect its... yeah. Embrace the horny. Hey, yo. Well, now this one looks more reflective. Oh, it's 1 metallic and 0.2 roughness. Wow, okay. It's full metallic. Yeah, I really like the reflective main. Like, I didn't think that I like it, but I like it. If the dirt has such shiny horns, you have been covering... a covering for the actual bones sticking out. Or that something happened to the original horns, the replacement had to be made. That's too good of a lore! Wait, roughness 0.2 it says? There. Now we have the same reflections. So now I just need to like remove this one. Just be a metallic dragon, easy. No! Not fully metallic. Okay, just remove this one, then all is good. But this one is not gonna cover up the white color, I believe. I mean, they're of the same color. So this one, yeah, they're not metallic anymore. Only the horn is metallic. Good. So this one, actually, I don't even need the color. The color is already there. I just need the metal and roughness. Guessing that the whole bone thing, I say, will be like a traumatic event that destroyed the thing's horns. The thing's horns. Maybe my dragon's horns? You mean her horns? I guess. Why am I like this? Why am I like this? Metal fin? Horn spike? Doesn't this count as sort of a horn spike? I mean, not the best, but it's the horn spike. But I don't think I can alter too much of the model currently. Nose spike? Oh. Oh, that's a thorn. You know what? I could add that. It's like a separate spike. I could add it afterwards in Blender and see how it goes. Yeah, just a small one. I get that. This proper pronunciation is typically used neutral to most of the time. Fair, fair. Not horn, yep. Although I personally feel the thing referring to another as the thing might be a little objectification, don't you think? It's just how I feel about the term the thing. I might be thinking too much about it, but still. Oh my god, I swear to God. You little shit, you little shit. How could you? I'm thinking of, I kind of want to make the fin metal. Metallic fin. Unheard of. Absolutely unheard of. What would happen though? Like, you never know, right? Like, what would happen? I mean... when people say go apeshit on your character design, is this what I'm supposed to do? Like, is this what is supposed to happen? Have I found my calling? Is this the thing that I must do? Damn, I like it though. But not the full body. Like, if fully covered by metal, I don't like it. But only a certain part to be metal, I like it though. Like, I really do though. It's not bad though. You know, I can use the metallic fin as a weapon. How about that? Oh my god. Oh my god. Substance, don't do that shit. Oh my god. Save. Save. For the love of God, save. That means you can add the metallic sheen to Baruki. What's a metallic sheen? It's where race, gender, and identity is just kobold. That doesn't mean I'm a thing, I'm a kobold. It's a little abrupt though, isn't it? How about we consider this as like, okay, how about this? We consider, like what Blab says. A replacement. Wherever the thing that is metallic, it's a replacement. Oh, lore. Oh my god, lore just to fit what's going on? Oh my god. Even the fur is a replacement. Half metallic horns? Oh, like only the tip is like metallic? I could try to blend, I think. Let me try. Oh, oops, I messed up here. Is it supposed to be like that? What the fuck? Oh, what? Wait, why are you like this? Oh, I think I know. Why are you like this? Because I did not cut it. The regret is setting in. The regret is setting in. Then just use this nice fur glaze on the goat fur to make it shiny. Oh. You know what? But that's like a good shiny. not every character has to go through traumatic experiences, right? So I assume if I want to have like a half metallic thing, using the whole incident thing I mentioned about to be a base of the Dirk story. But there's also so many other possibility. Like Narik says, glaze. A glaze could be a thing as well, you know. Like a dragon could not pass by and offer to be shiny, you know, like glaze. I'm gonna try to see if I can sort of blend and not just like abrupt change. I never tried this in Substance, but hey, now is a good time to try it, huh? So around here, I think if I make the stroke opacity to like 30%. I mean, shiny horns without it being a prosthetic is not easy in real speaking. Oh, yeah. Definitely. Sorry. There's a problem with Substance. See, I cannot just make it... I have to sort of do it like one go. So then... one go. That kind of works. And then one go. Yeah, that kind of works, but God, it's so hard to just blend in Substance. There's no such a thing as blending. Oh, unless... there. Actually, a thing in real life where people have prosthetic limbs in sports sometimes. Again, never heard about it, but doesn't seem like far off. No shining works just to make it look nice, and even then you either miss out a little on the base of the horn or bound out the further. Oh, that actually looks good. Okay, you know what? That is actually blending, you know? Then add here a little bit. Just gonna remove the line. Also behind here. Actually, new skill acquired. I know how to blend in Substance now. Shit. Oh my god, I know how to blend. That's crazy. And how to blend in Substance. Oh my god. That actually works. I'm very fucking surprised. I am so surprised. I'm honking out of my mind right now. Yeah. Look at that. Oh. That doesn't look too bad, to be honest. Just here, maybe a little bit needs some work. Glow in the dark? You mean like all the metallic place needs to glow as well? Would it be too much? Also, give me a second. Let me fix this one. I mean, I do have 60 who glows in the dark already. Kinda, a little bit. Make those swirly bits glow. Oh, you mean at the knees? Gosh, I'm liking what you guys are thinking here. Keep going. Yeah, keep going. Let's add more. Give me more ideas. Because I'm lazy. It's because no, I'm lazy. I'm sorry. Or maybe I'm just like I'm not good with ideas. Wait, if I need to add glowing, I need emission. And emission emissive. So if I add an emissive here, then I can add new emission here. Emit the same color, I guess. Oh, it goes through the cuff marking. Sorry, not it goes through a sports bed. That didn't. You guys heard nothing. It's okay. I can always do this. This is good. I can fix it. Look at that. This is even better. Look at that. Oh my god, I can fix it. It's clean. Clean. Oh, oops, too much. No. I know it looks weird here, but I'm pretty sure if I go render right now, this thing will actually glow in the dark. I believe. Let's try it.